Hello, this is Krista here with you again today. And today I wanted to share with you a little bit about another book I read, which is another great read. And it's called The Abstinence Myth. A new approach for overcoming addiction without shame, judgment, or roles. I really learned a lot from this book, and always grateful to find a newer, more modern, up-speed approach that's just got the greatest kind of value on it in my book, to come to a greater understanding as we are all taught in recovery that we with a lesser degree of shame, blame, and guilt around addiction, no matter what kind of addiction that it is, sex addiction, drug addiction, alcohol, overspending, any kind of way that we can really overdo things and ignore things when we're not grounding and facing the realities because of these lower levels of shame, blame, or guilt that we have on ourselves that were handed to us down generation after generation from our family, maybe the society around us, or whatever it may be, all the above. The Abstinence Myth is by Adi Jaffe, PhD, and I'm going to show this book again because it was free. I'm going to say this book is free and you can find it online. Let's see. Visit theabstinencemyth.com and you can get a free copy of this of your own to keep. It's, there's a shipping price on it, which is pretty cheap, but whenever you're in a hard mood, and you're maybe relapsing again, or feeling down or like giving up, it's also great to keep material around to even reread, to get it in your mind, no matter how many times it takes you. A lot of times after so many drugs or binges, especially chemically induced, our minds really take a beating, and our bodies, our brains, and things get messed up in there. And I know that if you're like me, I can get really messed up with the notions sometimes, which I work a lot on forgiveness these days through meditation, and also the Holy Spirit. With forgiving friends around me that can be more accepting and understanding that addiction really is just like anything else. And some people can really blow it up in big proportion. Some people can really be afraid that you are or were an addict, and turn away and just go run and hide, or like the cliques and groups type of thing that are so big in society yet, where they have this in their minds that, well, why can't we just stop using in lesser time? Why do we keep using? Why do we keep relapsing? Um, Although you have to know that relapse is and always will be a part of the process. Whether it's a narcissistic abuse, codependent relationship with somebody that doesn't treat you right, maybe they change when they close those doors, and maybe themselves are users and drinkers, and you try to stand by them and help them, when in all reality, it's sort of like we are almost projecting onto these other people the care that we actually need ourselves. And some of this can be really hard to look at, because you're going to have to see, a good way to get there is meditation always, because it reflects, all this awareness starts reflecting back on you and how you're really feeling. And, when you can sit there and blame your kids all day or your dog all day, that this happened or this didn't happen, this didn't get done or whatever, and we're tired, and I mean, the kids are all playful, the dog's all full of energy, and you're just depleted from either running after trying to take care of these people or these things, pretending to be Superman or woman, and you get angry. I mean, when we can reflect and take that time to do peaceful, calming mindfulness exercises or meditation for at least 10 or 15 minutes a day. I often do an hour of it in the mornings, and if I don't have time, I will try to do it at night. Whatever it is, even if you're having like health issues and you're still not eating the right foods, maybe you're ignoring yourself or the time of relaxation that you do need. You run until you're just kind of like dead for a while, whether it's a binge, whether it's, joining all the, a lot of things, and you just honestly get run down after a while. Maybe those people in your lives are turning you upside down and just depleting you. It's good to have reflections, even inside of books, to sit down, maybe or wake up an hour early in the morning, sometime at like 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock. If you're not a morning person. And just setting aside a time to read about wholeness and wellness. Getting some new ideas. What's great about meditation is that it really helps to, all of a sudden you're gaining insights left and right when you start breathing deeply and you come into this more aligned center with your brain, and just like the spinal, and the chakras and everything, to really come into this awareness and focus where you are more in the right frame of mind, and these ideas just start coming more to you, and these gut hunches and ideas. And then when we bring them forth into the action part of the day, um, going to and finding, just suddenly manifesting out of nowhere, the question that you did have in your mind that morning or whatever, where the answers come in a book or in a conversation that you're having. It also aligns more of like your safety mode, where you're going to be led to safer places and away from different things. And what's great about that is, I know I'm getting off here of the book, but this is just so great, for me in my life. Old things will start falling away. Old people, even old mind beliefs, And that's what's really good about reading, because it starts that new cognitive skill inside of your mind, um, to where we're letting a lot of old beliefs go, like you were always the bad child, you were always a monster because you drank. Even though you get blamed and name called all your life or judged, that they are just judgments passing, like this book does talk about. Um, when we can start overcoming the myths and maybe even help other people understand it and can teach it one day, that a lot of, the shame put on us by other people, we can start stepping beyond that and joining new circles and things, um, when we start learning from pros. I mean, this guy, he's a pro, and he's been there and done that with addiction himself. Heroin, I do believe, at one point. And abuse, I think, in his past. And did a lot of work on himself, relapsed, just all the same old, where this man, I mean, wanted more, and probably had to learn himself along the way and gain information to hold such a great amount of people, recovery patients of his own, which is just up in the thousands. And what a great place that would be, wouldn't it, to attain a greater rhapsody and peace of mind, that you can overcome addiction without, even. And this movie I just watched, which was based on a true story, about how when you are sent to a clinic, and in the past it was more like, well, we're not going to give you any help until you choose not to use anymore, that we can recover even starting from our own homes, with services. And it's changing a little bit to where you are going to receive help whether or not you are still using or not, or relapsing. That we can get and get all this help and information and start the recovery process, whether it's small or larger or just in between, when we have time to do it in our busy lives and schedules, where we can put that recovery in there, maybe even if it's just on a Saturday night, instead of going to do with your friends what you usually do, which is maybe go to the bar, and making up excuses to go drink or to go shopping or whatever it is, especially if you're, in a lower, weaker state. That there are other things to do, and it is being accepted more that we do not have to completely stop using and drop to absolutely painful, excruciating rock bottom, whether it's losing your license, losing your home after that gamble, whatever it is, and that we can get out of that pit of rock bottom and learn before we can fall into that rock bottom, and we can get to the place during this that we learn where that rock bottom is, and the next time we go to put our foot there, we're not going to step into it, you know and where one day we can walk around the block and just miss the hole altogether that was there on the street. I know that is all our ultimate goal, where we do not have to shame or punish ourselves or self-sabotage ourselves to where and victimize ourselves in that helpless state where we can go, that there is help and we can do it, and we can gain more confidence in learning these things every day by videos, books. I repeat this a lot because it helps myself when I go back and look at these videos. Because, I mean, staying in therapy with a good sober coach, going to your AAs, go someplace where they don't judge you too harshly, and really have a stance of forgiveness, like this book talks about. A stance of forgiveness can change everything, and it can really start changing your heart and your mind. Whether you have to come back to that place of spirit or heart, you know, and learn these lessons before we go up and just make a mess out of everything again. Because that is where confidence begins, and we can really start feeling like we can do it, like we can beat it, and we're not alone. Oftentimes we can feel so alone, especially if you're getting out of abuse. I know this is another big one for me right now, is leaving. Ross Rosenberg was talking about this earlier. Leaving, the different phases and dynamics of leaving, where you're getting beaten at, whether it's by your husband, your boss, controlling friends, like society, when maybe you are, joined with a gang of buddies or whatever, where they're going to laugh at you and joke with you and possibly even hurt you emotionally, psychologically, can be just as damaging as any other kind of abuse. But we know where we can find vibrational, flowing good energy at, or where there is going to be more stagnant energy around certain situations and stuff, where we can, if the vibe is not going anywhere and you're feeling low, if other people are making you feel bad about yourself, that you can walk away. You can excuse yourself, and you don't have to be like that back to them, like, well, you're just an ogre and I'm just not going to hang out with you right now. We start making wiser choices as we're learning. It's tough because when you do go through when the change begins, in any addiction, where your family and friends and the people that you hang out with are going to start changing. I know the fallout for codependency and narcissistic abuse is like, which was really surprising to me, yet not really, because I see some of it going on in my own stuff, where some of your friends and family, 75 to 80% are going to walk away when you start emerging into this new framework and mind frame, and like an awakening. It's just like a spiritual awakening, basically a life awakening or whatever, where you start treating yourself better, and you start demanding better treatment from others, and those people that are used to taking advantage of you and just crossing those boundaries or whatever, how big or small, and that keep you from going further in your growth work as a recovering person. 75 to 80% will just poof. They're going to be doing their own thing and not inviting you anymore or making up reasons. And it's really, he said that it was probably one of the most painful things that you will ever go through, but it doesn't last forever. I don't know how long he said, maybe like 6 months or something. It's just an average percentage of how long that is going to be going on, depending on where you are at, like with how bad the abuse was in your life, starting from a young age to having partners that we are used to being treated like that all our lives. We will stay with the same kinds of people that are going to still treat us like that, if we are aware or not. But the thing is that as scapegoats or victims or whatever, when you get beat on so many times, sooner or later you're gonna start not liking it anymore. You're going to want something different. Something in you is going to go up, and you can't take another minute. You can't take it anymore, and it's just so excruciatingly painful that you're going to want something better, and you're going to want to get out, and you can't do that without help. And so those reaching hands are going to come in around you, and you're going to see them more, opportunities more, and you're going to start taking those hands, and they're going to start pulling you out of this pit, this place, and that's where you want to be. So a little tidbit of advice. Again, this book is called The Abstinence Myth.